Hello, welcome back to the channel. This is Yo coming at you from Gobble Inn, my hotel island ran by goblins. I hope everyone is having a great winter season so far as the new year comes swinging by. Today, I wanted to give my grand ballroom the grand entrance it deserves. But before I can even wander off into the entrance area, I'm going to complete this third tier. If anyone is curious on the ballroom build, I'll have the video linked in my description below, and you can also catch it on the Gobble Inn playlist under my channel's page. So, I've mentioned in my last video about how this whole ballroom build has been living in my head rent-free. And this here third tier is another tenant from the rent-free apartment complex located in the back of my eyelids. I wanted to mimic the balconies that you'll see from the animated princess movies. You know the ones. I've always felt butterflies in my stomach when I see a balcony scene, whether it be Jasmine getting whisked away with Aladdin, or Rapunzel finally meeting her parents, the one Barbie movie with the princess and the pauper. The list goes on. But the main inspiration was when Cinderella and Prince Charming were dancing in the courtyard singing "So This Is Love." I'm getting kind of nostalgic just thinking about it. I know it has nothing to do with balconies since they were literally dancing everywhere in the castle but the balcony. But y'all, let's be real. It has everything to do with ambiance. The whole ballroom build up to this point has been loud, cluttered, crowded, with no place to breathe. But then you reach this little pocket and there's soft music playing for you and your partner. Unfortunately, I accidentally cut the sound out while editing, so you can't really hear the music coming from the music boxes while, in the speed build. But you will be able to hear it at the end of the video, so stick around and find out. Sadly, there's no beautiful scenery to look at while you're here, but we're not going to talk about that today. In a perfect world, if you were to stand on the north end of the build, you'd see a grand big old castle build. But I clearly, in my head, do not have the room for that, knowing that the edge of the map is literally 20 or so spaces away. Instead, I'm thinking of building a cafe of sorts to look at, but knowing my speed on builds, that'll probably come into fruition towards the end of the year of next year. Please, I implore you, I give you permission into bullying me into finishing this island, because I cannot bring myself into doing a full restart until everything is complete in the island. But not all is too bad. Now that I have time to actually reflect and think upon it, I really can't believe that it's going to be a full year since I've been onto this island. A lot happened and I didn't play Animal Crossing as much as I usually do, but to be fair, I tend to linger and enjoy the mundaneness of an island. That, and I was on my old island for a good 2.5 years before I got the motivation to complete it. So I know in due time the same life cycle will happen here and everything will be complete again. Hopefully expedited though, because I would like to do some builds that sort of don't suit this island's theme. Overall though, I'm satisfied on how I portrayed that Cinderella scene with this build, but tell me what you think. Do you get that feeling too after witnessing this tiny build? Or am I just dreaming of it? Moving on to the actual ballroom, it's finally time to liven up the place and give the orchestra I have a real audience by placing down the ghosts and ghouls that I've been mentioning so much. Now the hardest part of adding these dancers and partygoers was figuring out which dresses I should put down. The flooring was already so busy that I was scared the dress patterns would simply melt and get lost into them. I found really pretty designs and wanted to use all of them, but when I did, they'd just be drowned out. It doesn't help that it's also nighttime, so the colors show differently from how they appear in the design app. Of course, you think the easiest answer would be to place contrasting colors on display. I did too. But my gosh, either I was lazy in my search for them, or there are simply not enough fancy red dresses out there to be chosen from. But that's okay. I didn't really want the whole dance floor to be one color anyway, so all worked out in the end. Now, you may have noticed that there are some couples on the dance floor. Very early on in this section, I knew I wanted a display of couples dancing, so I was very thankful for the wedding tuxedo and Halloween costumes. Again, maybe it's because I wasn't searching hard enough, or there really isn't a lot of one-piece suits. I get there's a liberating freedom to customize your formal attire, but for builds like this, the one-piece suits were godsend. I wish there were more so that I could, use them to kind of equal out the gender ratio. But, I won't complain too much. The dresses I ended up using are really pretty, and it just gives me an excuse to scatter them everywhere in this build. Speaking of, while doing this build, out of the 3 couples that I did do, I think the most interesting one has to be the mermaid and mummy duo. Because in my head, unlike the other couples, the ghost and skeleton that you see on the right side that probably checked into Gobble as a family vacation or an X year's anniversary trip, I imagine that this couple, or should I say duo, are very new to each other. They're new acquaintances that either met on this island and this is their first date, or even more mysterious is that this is their first time ever meeting each other, and something in the air is just pulling them together. Is it because of the music dancing around them? That's so cool. She appreciates the same music as I do. Oh, does she always look this glimmering? What? She's looking at me? Something like the awkward meet cute that I just love it. Or maybe even they're both spies, and while everybody else is living a romantic movie or a comedy movie, they're in an action movie. I don't know. Something about this duo is enchanting to me, but what do y'all think? What do y'all think their story is? Alright, and following all of the Tetris I did for the ballroom, it's finally time to move on to the entrance. Yay! As always, to keep my sanity, I did all of the path work off camera. Sorry for the whiplash anyone felt while the time changed. This later half of the video was actually recorded the following day, and I desperately needed to see sunshine after all that darkness. Looking back, I can't believe I did the whole freaking ballroom build in like one day. But that just tells y'all how much this build has been on the back burner of my mind's minds. Of course, planning for the build took days, maybe even weeks, but I'm still surprised, What was the biggest build y'all ever done, and how long did it take? Conversely, what build is in the back burners of yours minds? Cause oh my gosh. After I finished this build, I thought, well, that's enough Animal Crossing for a year. I love this game, but sometimes I dig a hole and I just lay in it, Moving on though, for the entrance, the only thing I 100% knew I wanted for this build was the big old green pumpkin carriage. This part is not a Cinderella inspired part of thing, it's more of a use what you got kind of thing. But oh my goodness, is it such a great coincidence. Like, I wanted a big fancy carriage to drop off all of the guests, and big fancy carriage, this is the pumpkin carriage. Everything else is just me winging it and treating it as like a big filler space. For the most part, I think it's pretty good, and I won't do any touch-ups on it, aside for one thing though, and I only became aware of this after this whole build was completed. Y'all, I completely missed the opportunity to have a snowman couple in the ballroom build. Who needs suits and dress patterns when you can just insert a whole being? I mean, I knew that this item existed, but never really thought much of it, because all of my past islands have been set in the summertime, so there was never a need for it. And when my islands have been in the wintertime, I never really make any snow boys to get the DIY for it. And I think that's my biggest crime as an Animal Crossing player. Never have I ever made a perfect snow boy. That being said though, if I ever, give out a dream address, and this section looks completely different from how it looks like in this build video. That's probably why. Snowman's in the summertime. It's magic, they're magic, this island's magic. Don't think about it too much. Nothing bad ever happens in Ba Sing Se. Now, I'm just adding the final touches of the build by adding more partygoers. I thought of this at the very last moment when I pulled out that concierge outfit, and it just really set in that this is, you know, a ball happening right now. Invitation only, of course. And honestly, from pure laziness, I'll probably add the snowman couple here in like outside of the ball instead of inside the ballroom because I don't want to go back in there. It'll look out of place next to all of this Halloween decor, but hopefully the island by then will scream the hotel theme I'm going for and it'll just look normal. Before Past Me takes over with the beauty shots and closing statements, I want to wish everyone a Happy New Year's and cheers to hopefully seeing more of each other in the future. I'll see you in the next one. Alright, so I will go ahead and time travel to get my bridges. I'll go ahead and time travel to get my inclines in, and I will see y'all soon with the finished beauty shots. See you there! Alright, that is all for us today. Thank you for staying this far and seeing the speed build. It turned out way bigger than I had expected, but I absolutely love this area and I love this peak spot. I can't wait to do more lookout points and a area leading up to this spot. If you guys noticed that there was a big entrance area, but yeah. If you watched till this far, I hope you have a great day or night, and see you later. Bye now!